So today we're talking about clear communication. It doesn't matter whether you are in a professional environment or in a personal environment, communication is usually the main problem or the main key driver to improve your relationship within the organization or within your life. But when you're communicating, it's not just about what you say, right? Yes, communication involves verbal communication, written, body language, and all that. But it is more to do with, what the other person understands. So it's a two-way communication. I always say that there's a difference between perceived reality and actual reality, and the moment they match with each other, that's where you have effective communication. So most execution problems that happen in any organization, they are not actually skill related problems. People can learn skills, they can improve their competency levels and all that. Usually those challenges are related to communication failures. Right? So as a leader, you communicate in three different directions. Number one is up when you're talking to your seniors and leadership. Number two is down when you're talking to your teams. And the third one is more horizontal, where you can call it like across communication, where you are talking to your peers and other departments, right? And you can imagine that if any of these three breaks, there will be a dip in performance and overall, how the company performs. So number one is communicating up. So when you're communicating upwards, your job is two things. Number one is clarity, and number two is judgment. Right? Remember these words, clarity and judgment. So, leadership that you're talking to now, they are not interested in any noise. They're not interested in any chit chat. Right? What they need is number one, they need the context of the conversation. Why are we having this thing? The impact of it, risk factors, and any recommendations. Right? So they're not interested in you taking all the problems to them. They're more interested in why, how, what's gonna do with it, right? And what are the possible solutions. I used to have a manager a long time ago. His name was Mark Legard. I learned a lot of things from him. I remember, when I initially joined that company, I went to see him and said, "Hey, Mark, I have this problem." And he was very nice. He sat down with me and he showed me different ways and said, "All right, let's do this thing." Few days later, I went back to him again and I said, "Mark, I'm having a different problem." And he was nice enough to sit down with me again, go through the same process again, and then, he came up with a solution. But the third time, he said, "Abdullah, I don't want you to go to your manager ever without a solution. Don't go to him with a problem, always go to him with a solution. That solution can be all wrong. But as long as you have put in your time, effort, energy into finding a solution or maybe a set of solutions, and this is how you deal with your leadership, right? So, for example, bad communication, it sounds like, we're facing some issues. The team is struggling. There are delays. These are all vague things. Whereas the good communication, if you take all these three examples in context, is there needs to be three things: a, what is happening, why it matters, and what do you recommend. So, example, if I go to my leadership, someone higher up in the company, and say, "Hey, there's a problem with the delivery," right? I can rephrase it and put some more context into it, put some more information into it, and say, "Hey, man, delivery is at risk because of this reason. By 3 days, if we add one more resource today, we will be able to recover 2 days. And I recommend we propose in this manner." Right? This is a lot better communication than just say, "Hey, there is a problem there." So when you communicate up, you need to be very brief, you need to be very direct, right? You need to be fact-faced and always bring a solution, not a problem. Remember this thing when you're talking to the to people above you, clarity and judgment. That's what they're looking for. Now, look at it the other scenario where you are communicating downwards. When you're communicating downwards, your job is again two things. Number one, clarity. That was the same thing with communicating higher up. But the second one is alignment. Most people don't fail because they don't care, right? They fail because they don't fully understand what good looks like. Every instruction that you should, give should answer, some basic questions. Number one, what needs to be done, right? Because people below you, they want some sort of solution, some sort of guidance from you, right? So you need to guide them like what needs to be done. There needs to be a timeline, right? It cannot be open ended, right? Third one is, what does success look like? At the end of this process, at the end of this whole task thing, what do we want to achieve? And number four, what happens if it is not done right? Extremely important. And every time we sit down and we have these milestones and targets set for our people, we're always talking about, if you achieve this, you're going to get this, and bonuses and compensations and whatnot. Right? This should be the other side, the downside of it as well. What if we do not achieve this thing? Right? So what happens if it is not done right? And then, as a leader, because now you're talking to your team, as a leader, you should avoid vague languages like, you know, get it done ASAP, or do your best. What exactly is best? All right. And, or I trust you, just go and handle it. No, they are coming to you, or you are going to them to achieve some specific solution, right? So instead, be very specific about it, right? So instead of saying that finish this thing as soon as possible, you should say that this needs to be done by this Thursday, 5 a.m. Accuracy matters more than speed. But if you see something go wrong, if you see a risk, flag it by this time so that we can, act upon it. So after giving some instructions, confirm the understanding as well. Extremely important part, right? Perceived reality versus actual reality. So you may say something, but other person may not perceive it the same manner. Right? This one sentence where you're talking to them, say, hey, tell me what you understood, right? And how you will approach it. So you want him to rephrase the solution that you just gave him. This one sentence, it will prevent any rework. It will prevent any frustration. It will prevent any blame game and any friction between you and them. You want a harmony within your team. So for that matter, it's extremely important that the guidelines should be very specific, very clear, and there should be an alignment between you and your team. So remember, when you're talking upwards, there was a different set, but clarity was the same, whether you're talking to somebody upwards or downwards. But when you're talking to someone downwards, you should align yourselves with them. Okay. Third one is when you are communicating horizontally, like across with peers. You know, your job is, you're not exerting authority there, right? They are at the same level, right? So example, you're an IT manager, the other person is a CS or customer success manager. So in this case, your job is to align across the board. So peers don't report to you, they cooperate with you. So a cross communication breakdown when assumptions are made, or the ownership is unclear. So there are two overlapping departments, or there is a task that's overlapping between two different teams. Then who's going to take the ownership? Right. So, for example, we have learning and development, and then we have a customer onboarding, or sorry, employee onboarding. They are two different departments. Like learning and development also takes care of the onboarding of our people, but HR also takes care of that. But who is taking care of which part? That is something, when it is blurry, there will be clash, there will be friction between the two departments, right? So ownership should be very, very clear. And everyone usually thinks that someone else is responsible, so you have to write it down, be very clear about these things. So good cross team communication, it does three things. I've already mentioned ownership. Second one is they set timelines. And third one is they document things, right? any decision that's been made during any conversation, right? If there's a meeting, it needs to be documented, right? Otherwise, it is my words against yours, right? Who's gonna win? No one. It's a loss-loss scenario. So, for example, instead of saying, I thought your team was handling this thing, right? You should rephrase it. Say, hey, just to confirm, your team owns X, my team owns Y, right? And we sync every Friday. Are we on the same page, right? Again, reiterate, rephrase, ask the other person, this is what my understanding is. Are we on the same page or not? Right? Whether you're, communicating down, up, across, horizontal, vertical, it remains the same. The the challenge is, we think that we have communicated and the other person does not understand what exactly was communicated. Never rely on memory, never. We live by certain core values in our team, and one of the core value is, we live a knowledge, we live a culture of knowledge sharing. And when you read the fine print, it says that, we document everything. Same goes over here. You know, if it matters, write it down. Email, message, system. You can say, hey, as discussed today, these are the minutes of meeting. These were the guys present in this meeting. Clarity, 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 clarity. Right? So, the leader's rule of communication is pretty simple. If something goes wrong, assume that communication failed first, not people. We're not blaming anyone. Right? We're trying to understand how different people operate. So different people, they have different communication styles. Some people like to have a direct to direct communication. Some people like emails, written ones. Other people like to communicate different ways, right? So before blaming, ask what was said, ask how it was understood, what was missing. You are a strong leader. Strong leaders over communicate early so that they don't have to over explain later, right? And I have intentionally used this word over communicate. There is no such thing as over communicate. you know as long as you are communicating in a timely fashion, in a professional manner, you will be fine, you will be fine. Okay, so starting today, do this one thing, and every important communication with clarity. Um, Either ask, what did you understand, or who owns this, and by one. If it's not clear, it's not communicated. Clear communication, whichever way it is not a soft skill. It is an execution skills. Leaders just like yourselves, who communicate clearly, they move faster, they create less stress, they build trust, and they get results. That is the gold standard that we're looking for, right? Best of luck, guys.